Good morning and welcome to this Monday Minute. How many of you are looking forward to Christmas this year? It's this Friday. I can't believe it. There is a man in the Christmas story that I would like to be like. He was a man who was looking forward to Christmas. He was looking forward to the birth of Jesus Christ. His name is Simeon. And I'd like to share a little bit about the characteristics of Simeon that make me want to emulate him. Looking in Luke chapter 2, beginning in verse 25. Now there was a man in Jerusalem called Simeon, who was righteous and devout. He was waiting for the consolation of Israel, and the Holy Spirit was on him. There are four characteristics of Simeon here that are characteristics we need to strive after. First of all, he was righteous. He lived for the Lord. Of course, he wasn't perfect, but he led a life pleasing to God. And he was devout. He was devoted to God. To be devoted to God, to be devoted to his word, to be devoted to listening for his voice, is basically to be in love with God. And third, he was waiting for the consolation of Israel. He was waiting for the Messiah. He was looking forward to Jesus Christ coming to this earth. And the fourth is the Holy Spirit was upon him. He was overflowing with the Holy Spirit. And it goes on in verse 26, it had been revealed to him by the Holy Spirit that he would not die before he had seen the Lord's Messiah. I mean, to be in such close relationship with God that God speaks to you. Simeon heard the voice of the Lord through the Holy Spirit. And then verse 27, I love this. Moved by the Spirit, he went into the temple courts. When the parents brought the child Jesus to do for him what was custom of the law required. Simeon was led by the Spirit. I can imagine him. He was going about his normal business, and all of a sudden he felt a prompting of the Holy Spirit. Hey, you need to get to the temple now. You need to make sure you go there because today's the day. And Simeon instantly responded to the voice of the Lord in his heart, and he went to the temple. And because he went to the temple, he experienced the hope, the dreams of his life, because he was sensitive to the Holy Spirit. When we're sensitive to the Holy Spirit, the blessings that come into our life because we are directed and led by him. And verse 28, Simeon took him up in his arms and praised God, saying, Sovereign Lord, as you have promised, you may now dismiss your servant in peace. For my eyes have seen your salvation, which you have prepared in the sight of all nations. Simeon's ultimate goal in life was to see Jesus. And I think of all his characteristics, that's the number one that I want to have in my heart. My ultimate goal in life is to see Jesus, to see him manifested in my life, in and through my life and in the world today. And verse 32, a light for the revelation to the Gentiles, the glory of your people Israel. Here, this was a prophetic word. He was quoting from Isaiah, the prophet Isaiah, so he knew the scriptures. But in Israel today, they did not think of the Messiah being a Messiah for the entire world. They were looking for a Messiah of the Jewish nation. But here Simeon had a broad perspective. He had the heart of God. He had the spiritual viewpoint, and he saw that the Messiah was coming not just for the Jews, but for all people. And then verse 33, the child's father and mother marveled at what was said about him. They were amazed. Verse 34, then Simeon blessed them and said to Mary, his mother, the child is destined to cause the falling and rising of many in Israel, and to be a sign that will be spoken against, so that the hearts of many will be revealed, and a sword will pierce your own soul too. I mean, Simeon had a prophetic vision of the crucifixion. And he had a prophetic vision of how the Pharisees would turn against Jesus in opposition to him, and that Mary's own soul would be pierced too because of sorrow for seeing her son on the cross. Simeon, a great man of God. We don't have much written about him, but what is written is powerful. He was a man who looked forward to Jesus, who was devoted in love with God. He was overflowing with the Holy Spirit and sensitive to the leadership of the Holy Spirit. He saw beyond his own circumstances to what God was doing in his society and in his world. And he knew the power of the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ even before it happened. Wow, what a man of God. May I be like that. You have a Merry Christmas.